Coming up on Let's Get to the Points.
Tonight, you have asked, and we are delivering when it comes to traveling with your family using points and miles. It's one of the best ways to do it, and we are going to go into depth on this topic.
In terms of a favorite trip that I've enjoyed the most with them, it's probably last year's trip to Thailand and South Korea. I think from like an interest perspective in points, it was kind of like the biggest trip that we've done all on points. And it was also their first time taking the kids to Asia. So that was really cool.
So how do you decide between flying economy versus flying business class? What is your thought process with that?
It really depends on how many trips we have planned for the year and what our balance is looking like and how many points do we currently have, how many trips do we have planned.
So lots of families have to end up booking 2 rooms with points when they go to Europe.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we've encountered as a family. Last year we went to Prague. The Andaz there would not accommodate 4 of us in 1 room, but they did offer the Hyatt family rate.
That's why you should do solo travel.
Lauren, what do you think about the solo traveling?
I mean, I have been following along, Miguel, with the round the world trip, and I was telling my husband the other day, maybe I should book one of those for myself.
And now, let's get to the points. She loves making family travel first class without the first class cost. It's Serena. For him, no travel style is off limits and no destination is too far. It's Miguel. And he loves to use his credit card points and miles for unforgettable experiences in first class and beyond. It's Mitch Shannon.
Hi there. Thank you for joining us on Let's Get to the Points audio video podcast, where we bring you the very best in tips and tricks in the world of miles, points, and travel. I'm Mitch Shannon, joined by my co-host. These are the best experts you're going to find in everything points, miles, and travel. First up, she loves her family. However, day 10 of a trip with them, it's a totally different story. It's Serena.
Hi, everyone.
His family loves traveling, and they love doing it together in style. It's Miguel.
Hey, what's up?
Her family has made some wonderful memories from their trips using, of course, points and miles. It's our extra special guest co-host, Lauren.
Hi, everyone.
Please help us out. Click the subscribe button now below to our YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you watch or listen. Also, please sign up for our weekly newsletter where we send you the latest news in points and miles. Now let's do it. Let's get to the points. Tonight, you have asked, and we are delivering when it comes to traveling with your family using points and miles. It's one of the best ways to do it, and we are going to go into depth on this topic, whether you're traveling with your kids, parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers, aunts, cousins, uncles, whatever it is. It's a very different kind of game. And you got to work with a lot of things like the school calendars, work schedules, packing chaos, airport meltdowns, family trips. They come with a lot of extra baggage. You like what I did there? The great thing about our show tonight, regardless of what your family looks like or how you define it, we think you're going to get some really good value and some great trips out of our topic tonight. And to help with our discussion, we have our extra special guest co-host, who we think is one of the very best experts of family travel. It's Lauren from This Is How We Do Trips. And as always, we invite you to join in our conversation online by leaving a comment below. All right, Lauren, can we start with you? Now, you have done everything from international trips like Cape Town to mountain getaways in Park City and Lake Tahoe. And you got some really exciting stuff coming up that I'm sure we're going to get to talk about. But first, I want to do a little pulse check on your P2. He does a great job with the credit cards, right? Getting more points and miles. But when it comes to the trip, how does he do?
He's actually great. He might not know where we're going, but he'll make sure the bags are he'll make sure the bags get where they need to be. He'll help me corral the kids. He's good.
So a typical P2, that's what you're telling us.
Basically, yeah.
Tell us who you travel with and what trips been on that you really enjoy?
I travel with my spouse and my 2 kids who are 4.5 and 7 years old. In terms of a favorite trip that I've enjoyed the most with them, it's probably last year's trip to Thailand and South Korea. I think from like an interest perspective in points, it was kind of like the biggest trip that we've done all on points. And it was also their first time taking the kids to Asia. So that was really cool.
I was hoping you said South Africa because that's what I'm trying to book next with my family. But we can talk about
South Africa.
We can talk about them both.
That's fresh.
Can you tell us how you booked this trip? What type of points did you use? How many points was it for this family trip to Thailand?
So we use primarily Amex points to cover our flights. I'm a big fan of Avianca Life Miles. About like 90% of the time, that's how I'm booking our flights for booking on points. I ended up transferring to Life Miles to book on the way out through EVA Air. So we went through Taipei and then on to Bangkok. On the way out, that was in economy. And then on our way home, that's sort of why we ended up going to South Korea, was because I could find business class flights home from Seoul to SFO. And so I transferred points again to Life Miles and then booked United Polaris. And then for our hotels, you know, I'm a big Hyatt fan, so everything was Hyatt. We stayed at the Andaz in Pattaya. We stayed at the Hyatt Regency in Bangkok. And then we stayed at the Grand Hyatt Seoul. So that was all Hyatt points, primarily from our Chase cards transferring to Hyatt. And so we covered all of those hotels with Hyatt points. And then also we had some credit from our Capital One Venture X card. So we've covered one night in Seoul with that credit as well.
Yeah, I don't think I've met a lot of people that are big fans of Life Miles because I know their cancellation policy can be kind of harsh. So are you a member of their new Life Miles Plus subscription where you can now do free changes or cancellations for award tickets?
I am not a member of that. And I find it very annoying when I'm looking for flights because it the way it shows up in results is a little bit confusing and distracting. Fortunately, I've only ever had to change one of my award flights that was booked via Life Miles. I haven't had to deal with much of the hassle there, but it's gone smoothly for me and I've been able to find everything that I need. So.
And how far advance are you booking these? Because I've booked stuff through Life Miles, maybe because I'm not planning that far in advance anyway, but how far in advance are you planning these?
Now with my daughter being in elementary school, I am planning a lot more in advance just to, you know, plan around school breaks and that sort of thing. And so I would say, you know, typically between like 9 to 12 months out, I'm booking. The way the booking outbound to Bangkok, I think I booked pretty much right around schedule open. It took me a lot longer to find the 4 seats coming back in business class. That might have been like only 6 months out, but almost all of our trips are booked pretty much as far out as we can book them.
Serena, is that the same way you book because of the school calendar? You're booking far in advance as well, right?
Oh, yes. As far in advance as I can, because a lot of the school districts, they release their instructional calendar 2-3 years in advance. So I already know the dates that I want to fly. And so I'm already set with my dates and I just need to wait for the calendar to open. So I'm always doing it far in advance.
Wow, you're lucky. We just got this upcoming school year's calendar released. So I'm starting to book right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I've got 2 years forward already. So I have an idea. Sometimes it changes, but I have a good idea.
And that's why Serena has thousands of flight alerts on Seats.aero because she's planning like the next 2 or 3 years.
It's funny because Seats.aero lets you put the flight alerts on even farther out than the airlines have the calendar open.
Yeah, if I had the calendar, I would book that far out as well. I mean, my husband is sort of like our rate limiting step in terms of vacations because he has very little PTO.
Sounds like my P2.
Sounds like my P2.
Yeah, he gets very little PTO. My PTO rolls over, so you know, I'm not using all of my PTO and it's continuing to accumulate. So it's between him, his calendar, and the kids' school calendar that really tamp down our trips.
That's why you should do solo travel.
Lauren, what do you think about the solo traveling?
I mean, I have been following along, Miguel, with the round the world trip, and it does look kind of appealing. I was telling my husband the other day, maybe I should book one of those for myself.
You know, it's a way to burn your PTO. I see it as if you don't do it, you're just perpetuating the problem that your P2 doesn't have enough PTO. By not taking these additional solo trips, you just keep accumulating more and more PTO, and it's going to be a bigger problem down the road. So I'm just trying to avoid that bigger problem.
Or that's what you say.
Yeah, of course, that's what I say. But my P2 I didn't tell her that.
So Lauren, you talked about how you had to change one award ticket with Life Miles one time. How was that process? Because a lot of people, they talk about having trouble with Life Miles. I think Mitch has had trouble with them in the past. So how was your experience, Lauren?
From what I recall, it was a lot of time on the phone, like just like multiple calls calls. I think I had tried to initially like do something via email and that was not successful. And then I just sucked it up and spent a few hours on the phone. And I originally wanted them to rebook and they were like, no, like you have to like cancel, wait and let everything get redeposited and then you can rebook. They wouldn't just change the flight for me.
So Lauren, you used Life Miles to book, but what did you fly when you went to Asia?
So on our way outbound to Bangkok, we flew EVA Airlines. So we went through Taipei. We were in economy. And unfortunately, we also had I think a product change or something because originally we were all four of us supposed to be sitting together and we ended up in like a 333. So my husband was with the two kids and then I was in the middle of the middle section in front of them. It was terrible.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah. So that wasn't great on a red-eye flight. And my seatmates were not very happy with me trying to like get up and like help out.
So speaking about taking your family on a long haul flight in economy, is there anything that you wish you would have packed with you? Because I know now they sell a lot of these gadgets, right? To make it easier to travel with kids. There's these like inflatable mattresses for them, or even for yourself, there's these neck pillows and other stuff. So is there anything that you wish you would have had for that trip?
On that flight, we actually did do the inflatables for the kids. I would say not my favorite. I didn't really feel like they were that easy to like really keep the kids on. They were sort of like sliding in between them. And then since my husband was sitting in the middle, it was difficult for him to like maneuver around the little inflatables. We have tried the sort of like hammock style where you hook it over the tray table in front of you and then it's just kind of like fabric that extends out from the seat. We did that on the flight to South Africa, which was also in economy, and my daughter really liked it. My son wasn't into it at all, but my daughter really liked it and I felt like it was a lot easier to manage. We don't do like neck pillows or anything like that just because we have so much other stuff to carry and I'm really trying to like minimize the amount of crap we have. We're like iPads and, whatever little kits that the airlines give the kids or the in-flight entertainment. And that does it for my kids for the most part.
What about snacks? What snacks do you take?
Ooh, snack wise, we're pretty big on like granola bars. So like kids Cliff bars, those sorts of things that don't like crumble and make a lot of mess, but we're pretty simple. My kids, they will eat the airline food. They'll have a couple of their granola bars and they're good. My kids are pretty good travelers, I will say, in general. They're not good at waiting in line, but on the planes, like they're great. They're like in awe of the plane.
Now, speaking about lines, do you find it that other countries outside of the US, I know I've seen it in Europe and Asia, but perhaps South Africa or other places that you've been, that it's better that they prioritize families and there's always kind of like a separate line when you get to customs or security, immigration, whatever it is. There seems to always have a priority for families, especially with little kids. Did you find that helpful?
Absolutely. Definitely, like you said, in Asia and when we've traveled to Europe. I remember we went to Denmark. When you're going through security to enter the airport, like they had like a high chair that like if you had like an infant, you could put your kid in the high chair as you're getting all your stuff unpacked and putting it through the scanners, or they would offer to like help with the kid or with your baggage. In Asia, coming through immigration, separate line with like nobody in the line at all. Even when we were flying economy from Bangkok to Seoul, we still got to go in the priority line for crew and business class passengers. That, really expedited things and definitely makes a difference when you're traveling with kids.
Yeah. So if you're traveling with kids outside of the US, it's like your kids are your TSA pre-check for airports outside of the US.
That's a good,
definitely.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know why we're lagging behind. I wish the US was better about this, but that's why you should travel internationally.
Exactly.
So can you tell us about your United Polaris trip coming back home? How was that flight?
So that flight was great. We had a little bit of a tiff, I would say, with the check-in agent in Seoul. Essentially was sort of like, if your kid can't sit in the business class seat or like needs you, we're going to downgrade you and put you in economy. Like preemptively, my kid was not doing anything. And so that sort of like set a pretty negative tone for the beginning of the flight because I was like really anxious and like worried that like if he was acting up or anything like that, that we were going to have issues on the plane. Thankfully, we had a really amazing purser on the flight and he was really great with the kids and talked to them like they're little people and asking them if they needed anything and checking in throughout the flight. And so that sort of smoothed things over and made it a lot better. And we ended up actually using our kids' travel car seat on the Polaris flight, which I'm not sure they were supposed to, but we did. That worked out very well for us and the flight went smoothly.
Did you book Life Miles for that as well?
Yes, we booked that via Life Miles. And that was actually, I think, on sale. I want to say we paid like maybe 85,000 points per person. I'll have to double check that and send it to you guys.
So how do you decide between flying economy versus flying business class? So what is your thought process with that?
It really depends on how many trips we have planned for the year and what our balance is looking like and the whole cascade of, points, right? Like how many cars are we planning to open? How many points do we currently have? How many trips do we have planned? For that particular trip, it was just because we hadn't ever done a long haul business class flight. And so I just wanted to have the experience. And so I was pretty much open to flying any airlines, business class. And that just happened to be what came available for 4 seats. But in general, like moving forward, this year, my husband's turning 40. So we have a trip to Vietnam booked in business class on the way out in Vietnam Air. Currently, for the return, we're booked in economy, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to swap out our seats for business class on Starlux close in to our departure.
Did you hear that, Mitch? Did you get excited?
I'm ready. Can I come along too? All right. A question I've got for everyone here tonight. A little bit background on me. I was a little sheltered coming up as a kid. So I didn't take my first international trip until I was about 25 years old. You all have been very good with your kids, taking them to see the world, to see all these new places. What's those experiences like being able to travel with your kids that young to these countries like Korea, South Africa, Thailand? Because I didn't go anywhere until I was 25. So I think that's part of the reason why I'm in points and miles so much is because I'm making up for what I missed. So I love that you all are giving these experiences to your kids like this.
Mitch, I'm the same way. I mean, I didn't travel internationally until I moved to Europe, and I lived in Germany for a few years. And that's really when I started traveling. But I mean, I was 30 something. I don't know exactly, but I was pretty old as well. So, but that gave, my kids or me the opportunity to give my kids this gift of travel. And, my kids now the young ones are 9 and 11 and, they've been to over 20 countries now. So, and Points and Miles has really opened up a lot more of those opportunities, right? So now it's funny to hear my kids ask me to take them to China, right? So I went to Beijing a few weeks ago and I came back and they're like, hey, I want to go to Disney in Shanghai. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, I could probably take you. But to hear them that young ask for those things, I got to remember to tell them that this is not normal, that this is not, I don't want them to feel entitled and I want them to appreciate the opportunities that we have. But, it was really thanks to Points and Miles. And I love seeing their reaction when we go to a new place. And I love that they get to learn about other cultures, try different food, and really appreciate every person, no matter where they're from, and know that not everybody lives the way they do, that everybody has a different experience. So I think getting better perspective on life ultimately.
No, a lot of what Miguel said resonates with me too. I really got the travel bug. I had the opportunity to go on a trip with my Spanish class in high school. That sort of like sparked the travel bug for me, but it wasn't something that I thought I would be able to do for my kids. And so being able to take them different continents and multiple trips a year is not something I had ever imagined before I got into Points and Miles. And it's really cool seeing them connect, things that they're learning in school or something that they saw on TV with something that they're being exposed to in real life, and them being able to tie that in or say to their teacher, like, I saw a lion, in real life, not at the zoo.
Yeah.
When my son is coloring. And also them interacting with kids in other countries and hearing about how those other kids experience their life back at home, or the kids that, live in the destinations that we're visiting. One of my favorite things to do is go to a playground and just let my kids play, right? Like, it's a free activity. It's fun for them. They get to meet and engage with kids from the country that they're visiting or other visitors. And I think that is, just invaluable experience for them.
I agree. And Mitch, just like you, I didn't travel until my early 20s too. So that was not something that my parents could afford to take us on international vacations. Our kids are very lucky that their parents are into Points and Miles and we can show them the world with these experiences. And I feel the same way. I like how my kids can have exposure to other cultures and other countries. What I want them to do when we go into another country is to learn how to say thank you in that language. And I have them practice it every single time when someone helps them. And so I think it's great to have that exposure and to open their eyes that it's just not about America at all. Things are great internationally.
Okay, Lauren, I think it's time to move on to South Africa because you talked about the lion, and I want to take my kids on a safari. And South Africa seemed to be a pretty good destination for families because there's a lot of things you can kind of do on your own. I did a safari in Uganda, and after doing that, I was like, I never want to go to the zoo again. It's just not the same thing. So I'm trying to plan a safari, take my kids. I'm not sure where, debating between South Africa or Kenya maybe. But can you tell us a little bit about that trip?
Yeah. So again, looking at the school calendar and thinking, let's take advantage of these 2 weeks over winter break. Where can we go? For us being on the West Coast, it's pretty hard to get to the Caribbean. It takes like 2 days to get there, even though it's not that far away. So I was like, why don't we go to South Africa? Like, what can we do on points and miles? So we ended up starting our trip in Cape Town. Unfortunately, we all got hit pretty hard pretty much as soon as we landed. I think we ended up with the flu, but we were out the first like 4 days. Like we were in bed, barely moving, not eating. So we missed a lot of Cape Town, unfortunately. And then we flew to Kruger National Park and we were there for 3 nights. We got to do 2 safari drives there, which was amazing, incredible, all the adjectives that you can think of for that experience. And then we ended our trip in Johannesburg. So we spent a few days in Johannesburg and flew home from there. So in terms of how we booked that on Virgin Atlantic, it was actually pretty cheap. It was before they moved to their dynamic pricing. So I want to say I paid less than 40,000 points per person each way. I was actually holding out, hoping that I could upgrade to business class. And from what I had heard from Virgin Atlantic was that you could pretty easily upgrade economy points bookings to business class close in. Unfortunately, that shift to dynamic happened right before they were going to be opening up business class upgrades for my flights. So we ended up stuck in economy because they wanted like 2 million points to upgrade our flights.
Oh my gosh.
Like I was chatting with the agent and he said 2 million points and I said, LOL, I'm good.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That was a long trip flight wise, right? So it was essentially like 2 overnight flights flying from SFO to Heathrow and then Heathrow into Cape Town. Kids did really well. My back, not so much.
Oh.
I kind of wish we had sprung for like premium economy or business for those flights, but unfortunately it wasn't a possibility for that trip. We didn't have the points at that time. We just sucked it up and it was fine once we got there. Minus the illness.
Maybe that's why you got sick. No.
So, I mean, that sucks getting sick on vacation. I know my family has been sick on vacation too, every one of us. And did you get the care that you needed or the medicine that you needed internationally?
So the other thing that was tough about this trip was since we were traveling like on the holiday, we arrived in Cape Town, I think on the 23rd. We got sick that night and everything was closed for the holidays. There was like a little corner store across the street from the Hyatt Regency. They did have some paracetamol. So I was able to get that for my husband and I. And thankfully, I always travel with stuff for the kids. So we always go to the travel clinic before any international trips and get all the antibiotics and, you know, whatever vaccines and stuff that we need. And then for the kids, I always travel with like the Pedialyte packets and Zyrtec and Tylenol and all of that stuff. So I was fully stocked and ready for them to get sick because we've had enough experience with that to be prepared.
Wait, what's a travel clinic? You said you go to the travel clinic?
It's a Kaiser thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, what is that? I've never heard of that.
So our health insurer / health system, basically you can set up a travel clinic appointment if you're doing international travel. They typically want you to sign up like 6 to 8 weeks before your trip. So you talk to someone that's, you know, dedicated to like reviewing whatever standards are in place for the place you're traveling. So like if you need a vaccine to enter the country or if they, you know, with kids, right, if they maybe want to accelerate the schedule to make sure they're protected ahead of your travel. They'll make sure your kids get the vaccines that they need. They'll ask if you're going to be doing any sort of like risky things like, do you plan to get a tattoo or are you going to eat street food or something like that?
That's all the stuff I do.
What sorts of precautions can you take and can you take for your kids? And so they, they'll give us the prescription for like traveler's diarrhea in advance and make sure we got Imodium and all of the things that you would need to do to sort of react to an illness in the country if you might not be able to obtain the medicine there. For South Africa, they made sure we had the malaria medicine and gave us advice about like treating our clothes and what we could put on our skin and that sort of thing. So it's a pretty comprehensive visit. And I highly recommend it ahead of any travel just to, make sure you've dotted your I's and crossed your T's and you're prepared for what might come.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that actually, but you're making me reconsider my stance on medication. So my wife would, if it was up to her, she would pack everything. And I'm a minimalist. So I'm like, you know what? If we need that, we'll buy it there. If you're going international, they might not have a Walgreens 24 hours. So especially for the kids, it's probably important to pack some medicine the kids might need. Because for myself, at least, I'll tough it out, whatever. But the kids, it sucks seeing your kids sick. I guess I should start packing medicine when I'm traveling with the kids. On one of our trips, actually, one of my kids fell and she cut her chin and we had to take her to the ER. This was in Prague. And this was our first time having to seek medical attention in a different country. And it was a little scary, right? Because you don't know anything about if it's a different language. How do I look this up? How do you get there and tell them, what the issue is? The takeaway from that story was that she was fine. They gave us the bill and I just saw like commas. I'm like, oh, great. And so I thought it was going to be super expensive, right? It's a trip to the ER. We took her to the ER there in Prague. I converted the Czech crowns into dollars and it was like $50. I was like,
oh, wow.
What? This is it?
Yeah. That's my copay.
Yeah, that's copay here in the US. That was her entire ER visit. I don't know. I think it was, all right. Maybe I have some outstanding debt in the Czech Republic right now. But as far as I know, that's all I was responsible for. And I paid the $50 for an ER visit, which was a little crazy. But Serena, I still haven't looked into Allianz, the insurance, but I know you use that insurance because I guess that gives you peace of mind. And does that include medical coverage?
It does. And I've talked about this on the show before. I have the Allianz annual plan for my family, including my parents. And I love it more for the medical benefits. It's great that it does include some travel interruption and protection and baggage delay insurance, but I'm more getting it for the medical coverage for my family. And my daughter, she hurt her arm on a water slide on a cruise ship. And so she had to get an x-ray and a sling and some medicine from the doctor on board the ship. It cost over $500 and Allianz covered all of it. Our premiums for that for the year for my entire family are less than that. So we made out just from that one claim, and the claim process was very easy. So I continue to buy that plan year after year.
We have that same plan too. And my in-laws also travel quite a bit and I've asked them to get it for themselves as well.
Especially with aging parents too. It's good for them to have coverage when they're traveling. So with Allianz, they do have trip interruption and cancellation coverage, but I know all of us here, we rely more on our credit cards for that insurance. So I'm wondering, Lauren, what are your favorite cards to use when you're booking your travel?
Oh, let's see. In terms of just accumulating our points, we are really heavy Chase card users. We pretty much have all of the Chase Ink business cards. I hold the Sapphire Preferred. My husband has the Sapphire Reserve. And we also have the Freedom cards and the Freedom Flex and the Freedom Unlimited cards, the whole family. I would also say we pretty heavily use our Amex Gold card, being a family, right? We have a lot of grocery expenses and eating out expenses. So we use the Amex Gold a lot for that. My catch-all is my Capital One Venture X card. So that gets a lot of usage too for random, sports fees and uniforms and all the things that we need for our kids. So when I'm actually booking my trips, we almost always use the Chase Sapphire Reserve card just because of the comprehensive insurance coverages that it has on it and to get the 3X on the travel.
Miguel, you probably do the same with the Reserve, right?
Yeah, the Reserve is my go-to because I made that mistake before where I used my wife's Amex Platinum to book a trip because I wanted to get the 5X on the flights, but we were working on a retention offer, which was 45,000 points for $3,000 in spend, I believe. So we bought this flight which was a mistake fare. And I forgot that I put it on that card because, I just paid it off. And maybe a few weeks later, they canceled that flight because it was a mistake fare. So then now that meant that I didn't meet the retention offer requirements. So Amex clawed back those 45,000 points. It was so sad to see logging into Amex and saying points earned this month, negative 45,000. So I said, never again. So now when I'm booking a flight for the actual trip protections or even car rental insurance, I use the Sapphire Reserve.
I've had a clawback too. It's so sad.
So I normally put everything, and I don't know why I do this, on my Chase Ritz credit card. Well, first off, for that travel credit. And for me, I don't know, I just kind of like that protection and everything that comes with it. So I always put it on the Ritz.
So I think the Ritz card has the same protection as the Sapphire Reserve. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
They're on par with each other. Yeah. So I use the Venture X card for all my travel purchases for the protection. Haven't had to claim anything yet, but we'll see if that ever comes. But I think they have pretty good coverage as well with the Capital One Venture X cards.
All right, I got a question for you guys. So a lot of you do occasionally travel in main cabin, and sometimes that doesn't come with, well, it never really comes with lounge access. So what credit cards do you recommend?
Saying, ha ha.
What credit cards do you recommend or use to get you and your family into these lounges? Because it feels like the rules are changing all the time on this.
Yeah, the Chase Sapphire Reserve pulling the Priority Pass restaurants really was a blow to us flying out of SFO because that was our sort of go-to. But thankfully, now there's the club at SFO, so we can access that. It's our Priority Pass membership, which we have on quite a few cards. So the Reserve, we have a Venture X, and our Amex Platinum cards. So we're sort of covered for all of the members of our family.
Have you been to that lounge?
Yes, it's really nice.
I
like
love it.
Yeah, I prefer it to the Centurion for sure.
Oh, for sure.
What's that drink you like there, Serena, at that lounge? Golden Gate? What is it?
The Golden Gate Bramble?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, is that the one with the whiskey drink?
I don't know, but it's good.
Oh, there's one drink I was like, whoa.
There on the drink menu, I've tried the two at the top of the menu, and they're both really good.
One was a little strong for me. I was like, whoa, I'm going to be passed out on this flight.
So all the times I've been into that lounge, they always have the same food, but it's still good every time. And then they have the Ghirardelli brownies.
I was going to say the brownies,
yeah,
right?
So good.
Can you get me one next time? Because those look so good. They really do.
So this lounge is in the Terminal 1. It's the Harvey Milk Terminal. And I purposely will only fly Southwest, Alaska, or American out of SFO so I can go to that lounge because it's too far. If you're flying United, it's too far to walk. I try to fly on just those airlines so I can be close to the club.
Yeah, I don't have a lounge.
Okay, sorry, Miguel. So T1 at SFO's connected airside with one of the branches of the international terminal, right? And when you're flying out of that international terminal, Priority Pass gets you access to the Golden Gate Lounge, which is a very sad lounge. So we will walk all the way to the club in T1 just to go to the nice club. Sorry, Miguel. I know you don't have any lounges.
But don't you get to connect through DFW? You got Capital One.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do connect through DFW quite a bit. So I would say the cards that I use for lounge access for my family travels is we fly American a lot, or I do at least. So I have oh my God, this is like 10 words for this card. American Airlines Advantage, World Elite Executive MasterCard, something like that. But anyways, this one gives me access to the American Airlines Admirals Clubs, which are just a place to sit, really. They're not that great, but it's still somewhere to go in. So I use that a lot. And then for international or for Priority Pass lounges, I would say the Capital One Venture X is probably the best one, especially because you can get free authorized users and everybody will have their own membership. So if you have a family and you want airport lounge access and Priority Pass will work, I think the best one to get is a Capital One Venture X because you can get up to 5 Priority Pass memberships off the same annual fee.
So question, Miguel, with that executive American Airlines card, can you bring your family into the Admirals Club as well?
Yeah, so it's your immediate family. So that's your spouse and your kids or 2 additional guests. So if you're traveling with, coworkers or friends, you can bring 2 people in. But if it's your immediate family, it's if you have 4 kids, you can bring them all.
That's nice.
This card used to be a lot better, but now the authorized users, I think it's $175 a year for the first 3 authorized users, but they will have a membership that allows them, I think it's just access for themselves. I'm not sure if they can bring any guests, but for myself as a primary account holder, I can bring in 2 guests or your immediate family.
And Mitch, I know Mama is one of your kids. Where do you like to bring your children at LAX?
Our out of control tween. Yeah, LAX, there isn't really a lot. What we do though is we do the GameStop with Priority Pass, where we don't really play the game. We just go in and get the snack and the drink. That's pretty much the extent of our lounge access at LAX, because there isn't a lot. There is now the American Express Centurion Lounge, which is in T-Bit, the Tom Bradley International Terminal. Depending on which terminal you're flying out of, that could be a far walk. Like, you'll need to get your roller skates out, because if you're going from United to the International, it's very far.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do it, right? But it's a long walk staying airside. And that lounge, I don't know. I feel like the American Express Centurion at LAX is not as good as it used to be. I don't know. That's just me, though.
I think none of them are.
Yeah.
I'm kind of over American Express Centurion lounges. And at Phoenix, the Centurion Lounge is right next to an Escape Lounge, which you can also access with your American Express card. And usually there's a shorter wait because it's supposed to be not as nice, even though it's the same food. They share the same food. So I got into the line for the Escape Lounge because I said, I don't care, I just want somewhere to sit. And they told me there was 39 people in front of me. I was like, no, I'm not waiting. So I walked over to the new terminal. They're at Phoenix, and there's a new Chase by the Club Lounge or whatever. And it was a little bit of a walk, but I was like, well, I have time. I had a couple hours over, so I went to go check that out. They had a wait as well, but I'm like, whatever, I'll see how long it takes. And it took me 30 minutes to get the text back that it was available. So I went in. By the time I went in, I had like 10 minutes in the lounge before I had to start walking back towards my flight. But at least I got some food, and it's really small, that lounge, but it's very nice, and the food was okay. So
Can you get into that lounge with a Priority Pass?
okay, so you can get with Priority Pass, but I think they only allow you maybe like once or twice a year. And then the other thing is, because it was full, it was like at capacity, there was a wait list. They had a sign that they were only allowing you to enter if you had the actual Sapphire card, not Priority Pass. But the funny thing is that nobody verified that I had a Sapphire card. Maybe it was just that day. I'm not saying this is going to work for you, but I went in. They said, there's a wait list. Sure, put me on the wait list. Then I got the wait list text that it was ready, and I went in, and they just asked for my boarding pass. They didn't ask for my ID or my Sapphire card. So try it.
I'm going to Phoenix next week, so we'll see what happens.
I am with my family at the Grand Hyatt Scottsdale. Imagine spending 4 nights here for free. Right now, you can earn 100,000 bonus points with the best credit card offer. That's enough to cover multiple nights at this resort or other hotels worldwide, including Japan. This offer is usually 60,000 points, but today you're gonna get 100,000 bonus points. Grab this deal before it's gone. Check out the show notes below for all the details.
But here's the other thing about the Centurion lounges, and I don't know if this is going to make the edit or not, but I don't know if you guys have been seeing it. They've been having these health department issues. Atlanta,
Yeah.
somewhere in one of the Carolinas, they got shut down by the health department. Did you see that?
Wow.
I did. Yeah.
Wow. So there are rats running around back there, huh?
Ew, you know it's pretty bad if the health department closes it. That's all I'm going to say. Don't sue us, American Express.
Speaking of positioning, I'm curious, do you guys use positioning flights when you're traveling with your family?
Well, I always have to position, right? But it's a matter of where is it cheaper to position, because like you probably know, when you're positioning with a family, yeah, it's just a positioning flight. Yeah, but times 4, times 5 or whatever, it's not that cheap. It's not just finding a deal. It's like, okay, can I cheaply take my family to this airport to take advantage of this deal? If not, then it's not worth it for me.
Yeah, same here. I almost never position unless we're going through LA. And that's simply because we have family down there. So if we need to like fly in the night before, we have somewhere to stay for free and we got people to pick us up and shuttle us back and forth from the airport. But there's a lot of deals I wish I could book, but it adds up when you have to pay those, cash fares or even award fares for 4 people or so.
Absolutely. And I think that when you have little kids too, you don't want to just be schlepping them to all these airports. You want to try to go direct and get to your destination as soon as you can. And so same here. My positioning airports are like West Coast. That's it.
Yeah, when it comes to positioning for us, our tween, she's a little older, so it's harder for her to make those extra flights when we have to. But I'm kind of in this mindset these days. I don't know if I'm getting tired of it or I'm a little lazy. Unless it's going out of LAX, I really don't want to have to make that positioning flight for a couple of reasons. Number one, if it's a separate ticket, I get really, really nervous if I don't book like a huge connection time because there's no protections really if I miss that flight because it's not on the same ticket. Now, if it is on the same ticket and there is a connection and if there is a reposition, sure, I'll probably do it. Like I got a flight coming up where I'm going to go LA, San Fran, and then San Fran on to Europe. It's on the same ticket. I feel comfortable with that. But if I have to book separate tickets, I'm just not into repositioning these days.
Mitch, Europe? I thought you were over Europe. I thought it was all about Asia.
There's this cruise we're going on and I'm flying Condor and then you screwed up and I got to make good with Serena to get her a couple of little salt shakers, pepper shakers.
Never mind. Continue on.
We can rewind that or keep going, right?
You screwed up, Miguel.
That's right.
Speaking of Europe, the hotels in Europe, especially the points properties that we all love, are known for having a max capacity of 2 people per room. So lots of families have to end up booking 2 rooms with points when they go to Europe.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we've encountered as a family. Last year we went to Prague as part of my husband's work travel. So we sort of tacked on a family vacation at the end of his conference. We were lucky that the place that his work put him up in was able to accommodate 4 of us in 1 room. But when we wanted, to move and use our Hyatt perks, the Andaz there in Prague would not accommodate 4 of us in 1 room, but they did offer the Hyatt family rate. That rate is something that is offered only at select Hyatts, and it's not something that's published. You have to typically call or email in to find out if the property offers that perk, but typically you can book a second room that's essentially designated to just be for your kids at a discounted rate. We ended up with a pretty sweet suite where we had 2 twin bedroom and a king room. We also had a private hallway at the Andaz Prague, and it was more space than we needed, but it was definitely a lot cheaper than spending the points to book 2 rooms or paying the full cash rate for the second room.
So that second room, they give you a discount on the cash rate. I think it says up to 50%, but that'll vary, I guess, by property, right? So you paid a discount on the cash rate for the second room.
Yes, definitely.
Do you remember how much it cost?
I want to say it was somewhere around 300 euro. It was pretty steep. The Andaz cash rates are pretty high.
But I remember seeing a video of the space that you had and it was big.
It was huge. It was definitely more space than we needed. My kids are, pretty little, so they still, want to come be in the room with us.
Oh, of
so
course.
It's basically
everyone's left in
wasted
the same
space.
bed.
Exactly. Wasted space. But it was nice during the day, at least.
Yeah, something important with this rate is it is meant for younger children. So, for example, my daughter, who is 13, she's considered an adult at a lot of these properties. And so I couldn't book a second room under this family rate because she's an adult. So, Mitch, you can't pretend that Mama and John are your children because they won't be eligible.
The problem, I think, with some of these, secondary rooms for your kids is that they don't always guarantee that there'll be adjoining rooms or there's a difference between connecting, adjoining. I know Hilton is the only one that has, so praise to Hilton, woohoo, has a filter when you're searching for a stay where you can click on this filter and it'll search for connecting rooms. So if you have a family and you're at over capacity of whatever they're allowing you, you could search with Hilton, click on this filter that says adjoining rooms to be able to secure and guarantee that those rooms would be connecting. Another tool to look for this type of hotel is there's a website called Sweetness.com. And what this does is search for either suites or connecting rooms that will fit a big family. So if you have, 2, 3 kids or more, you could use this website. Now, this website is for cash stays, but it's a good starting point if that's what you need, if you need to find a room for a family. So Sweetness.com, not sponsored.
We've also found it helpful occasionally to start our search, even with Hyatt, for suites. So sometimes, when we're looking for award stays, we can't find, the availability for 4. So we search for 2 people to start with. We'll read through all the descriptions and see which rooms allow 4 people, or we'll contact our concierge. Since we're globalists, sometimes we're able to just book for 2 and then apply a suite upgrade award, and on the back end they'll fix the actual occupancy. So that's another strategy that we use as well.
Yeah, if you're not finding a room, it's because you're searching for, say, 2 adults and 2 kids. It could help to search just for the 2 adults, and like Lauren did, because I know there are some places that don't really enforce that. I think Japan's one where they can allow you an extra kid if they're sleeping in the same bed. I know when I was searching for a property on Disney Resort, there was a different filter, like whether your kids had their own bed or whether the kids were going to sleep in the same bed with you. So if you're not finding what you're looking for, maybe search just for 2 adults, and then maybe try to message the property, send an email, and see if they'll allow you to add a kid to that room.
So we all know how strict a lot of these properties are internationally for occupancy and how many people are in those rooms. Domestically, we know it's a little more loose. I was wondering, are there any properties domestically where you maybe have run into issues with how many people have been in your room?
I have not, but I'm also not advertising that I'm bringing all these family members with me. So at check-in, some people will be in the car or they'll come in later, right? You're not bringing everybody into the lobby and checking in.
Right.
So you want to be discreet. So I haven't gotten in trouble in the US yet.
Yet.
I feel like this is a side show. Serena's tips on how to check in domestically.
Yeah, it's never been a problem, but you definitely do see some properties playing games with availability for award nights with multiple people, even though multiple people are allowed in the space. Definitely something to, double check when you're not finding that spaces.
How do you deal with transport? Because, if you're taking a taxi or Uber, I guess you could fit 4 if one of you sits in the front, but how do you deal with transport? Do you do public transport? Do you do cabs? And if you do cabs, do you take booster seats, or how do you deal with that?
Definitely going from the airport to the hotel, we're not doing public transit, but I do like to take advantage of public transit to get around to destinations. We're typically going to either do an Uber cab or rent a car. We actually use the Ride Safer vests. So they're a really compact vest that the kids just buckle themselves into, and then the seatbelt goes through the vest itself. When they were younger, we used the Wavy Pico, which is a pretty popular compact car seat, although it is very pricey. I don't know if I would recommend it if you're not traveling a lot. They also, have those blow up booster seats, but I find the vest to be really useful once your kids are the right height and weight for those.
I actually used that blow up one because it was $30, and all these other options, they look awesome, but they can be pricey. So I did use the inflatable one a couple times. You know what I do like in some places? I think I want to say Germany. Some of the cabs have a built-in booster seat, which was pretty cool. But there's no way of really knowing what cab you're going to get. I just thought that was a neat feature that I've seen.
I've used the Rider Safe vest on vacation as well, and I really like it because it's so compact and it's very handy. We've used the Bubble Bum too, the blow up booster.
And when we had an infant, we did the Duna, which again, another pricey option. Sorry, folks. But for convenience, right? It's a stroller and it's an infant car seat, and you can carry it on the plane and use it in the actual seat on the plane. If you have bought a seat for your infant, it makes things a lot easier to get around versus, carrying a separate stroller and then your own infant car seat.
Yeah, we're saving all this money by not paying full price on flights and hotels. So all the money goes into accessories, of course.
for sure.
Well, if you want to save some more money on checked bags, one way that I would do it is if you have like maybe toddler aged kids, even Southwest now, right, is going to be charging for bags, but they won't charge you for baby items like car seats and strollers. I used to have this bag where I can put the stroller in and then you can just add other stuff in there and they're going to check it for free. They're going to check it for
totally
free.
stuff all this stuff in there too.
Because you get to check baby items for free. So here's my car seat or stroller.
And you gate check it.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can check
That's
it
the
for
best
free
part.
and throw some clothes in there or whatever. So they saved $40. That's what they're charging now. These check bag fees, $40.
I think you need to get each kid one of those big roller bags too in their own big backpack. You know, that's another way because you can carry that on, right? So family of 4, you could get what? 8 bags that you could carry on the plane?
Yeah, our kids have just moved into that phase where they can roll their bag, kind of, some of the time. I have these pretty sturdy like belt contraption. It's called the Cincha travel belt, and I like string together my roller bag and theirs. So when they inevitably get tired of it, I can just pull one bag and they all trail behind it.
Yeah.
One thing that I want to cover is in-lap infants, because if your child is under 2, you might be able to have them fly for free or pay a reduced cost. For domestic flights within the US, you might be able to have them fly for free. You might have to pay some taxes on your flight depending on your routing. But for international trips, and especially if they're award tickets, the policies vary, so I quickly want to cover that. If you're planning to travel with a baby under 2, here's what you need to know about flying with a lap infant using points and miles. Before their 2nd birthday, most airlines allow a child to fly as a lap infant, meaning they don't get their own seat. Fees for this can range from free to thousands of dollars depending on the airline, the cabin, and the booking method. Some parents don't want to do in-lap infants for safety reasons, and that's totally understandable. It's up to them. They can choose to pay for a seat for their child. But for those that want to have an in-lap infant, let's break down the best ways to book award tickets for an in-lap infant. Does an infant need a ticket to fly? Yes. Even if the child is flying in your lap, they still need a ticket. Within the US, adding a lap infant is typically free and handled at the airport. For international flights, it's different, and you'll need to get the ticket in advance. If your child turns 2 during your trip, the in-lap infant policy won't apply. You'll need a full paid ticket for the entire journey, not just for the return. That is unless, of course, you're booking 2 one-ways. Now, most airlines will charge you 10% of the adult revenue fare for international flights. So if you book a $4,000 business class ticket for yourself using points, you're going to be paying 10% of that $4,000 for the kid. Now let's go over the best programs for booking in-lap infants for award tickets. Air Canada's Aeroplan only charges 2,500 miles or 25 Canadian dollars per one-way ticket, no matter the airline or the class. This is one of the better options. ANA Mileage Club charges 10% of the miles needed for the adult ticket. So if you use 80,000 miles for your ticket, you would use 8,000 miles for their ticket. You'll need a call to add the infant, and it could be tricky with partner awards. For example, if you're using ANA to book, but you'll be flying on a United flight, that could be a little bit tricky. With British Airways, they charge 10% of the points or the avios used for the adult ticket. So there are no high surcharges for the infant. With Turkish Airlines, they charge 10% of the miles required. United Airlines would charge you 10% of the adult revenue fare, but this is capped at $250 even for business class, and this can be booked online. And then we have Virgin Atlantic's Flying Club, which charges a fixed rate depending on the cabins. They'll charge 1,000 miles for economy, 2,000 for premium economy, 5,000 for business, and 7,000 for first class. Something else about the in-lap infants is that they don't get their own baggage allowance. So it's not like they're going to get an additional 2 bags, but baby items like strollers or car seats, you can check those for free. So if you have a kid who's under 2, take advantage and go on this trip with them, because it could be free, could be 10% of miles. It's not a bad deal.
I like that Aeroplan offer. That's very generous for an infant.
Well, maybe we should caveat this, Serena, because we know that all these airline programs keep changing all the time. As of recording, that's what they're charging. Who knows if they switch to dynamic infant pricing in the next couple months.
So I shouldn't plan on having another baby just for this.
I say go for it.
All right, those were some good tips, Miguel, but it wouldn't be a family episode of Let's Get to the Points if we didn't have some fun. I think we need a little game show. I'm breaking out the music.
Oh, here we go.
I know you guys don't like it. All right. I don't even have a name for this game show, but we're just going to go with it. It's very simple. I've got some rapid fire family travel questions, and you all have to give your best quick answers. And we're going to start with Lauren, then we're going to circle around. You guys got it?
Got it.
I don't know. I'm not looking at your circle, Mitch. Who's after Lauren? I don't know what order we're in.
All right, here we go. First question. What is your favorite family-friendly airline?
You know, before this week, I would have said Southwest, but I think I'm a free agent right now.
I would say any Asian carrier. I'll say Japan Airlines, I guess. I don't know.
I'll say Emirates. They give the kids a cute bag and they give full-size candy bars.
That was a big snicker your daughter got there, Serena. It was huge. All right, next question. What is your go-to travel snack for your kids, Lauren?
Kids Cliff Bars.
Can I bring my player too? She's the one that takes care of this.
You need to phone your player too?
I need a phone.
Goldfish.
Goldfish are a mess, though.
No, she does this like tackle box, snacks instead. So she likes to give them variety. So there's like graham teddy bears or whatever in there. There's goldfish, there's gummy bears, and something else.
Okay, I will say the Yum Earth vitamin C lollipops. So might as well get some vitamin C while you're traveling.
I don't know what
That's
that is.
right. Keep them well so they don't get sick. All right. Next question. What has been the most surprisingly kid-friendly destination that you have been to? Lauren.
I know. I can't go rapid fire. Probably Thailand. I think going into it, I just wasn't aware of just how family friendly everyone was going to be. Pretty much everywhere we were, at temples, at the hotels, in the airport, like top tier family friendliness.
I'm just going to say Japan. I don't know if that's the place, but there's a place where they even had like kids' toilets, kids' bathrooms, and that was kind of cool for the kids.
I'm going to say Taiwan. I had no idea how much my family would love the night markets. And I told my little one that we're going back to Taiwan. She goes, "Are we going to be there at night?"
Ooh.
I said, "You mean for the night market?" She said, "Yeah."
All right, next question. One thing that you always bring on your family trip.
Medicine for my kids.
Okay, Lauren, thanks for putting me on the spot because I don't think medicine. But one thing I always bring is an extra set of headphones because I don't want to give mine away. And that's happened. If I don't bring an extra set, there they are with their phone. And, kids, nobody should be listening to anything on their phone without headphones. So I have to give up my headphones. So now I bring an extra set because I know they might forget theirs.
For me, it's a portable noise machine. I love that because in hotel rooms, it drowns out the noise from the street if you happen to be in a noisy neighborhood. So it really works for us.
Should have used it yesterday to drown out that motorcycle.
All right, last question before we file this game show away to never do again. It is favorite app or gadget to travel with your kids.
iPads.
I think that's the same answer for all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just a portable charger. That way the iPads or phones don't die.
Okay, I will say Google Maps. And the reason I say this is because my kids actually enjoy holding my phone and being the navigator when we're in a new city and we're walking from place to place. So they'll fight over my phone who gets to hold the Google Maps.
All right, this has been a great episode. We've been talking a lot about family travel. And before we wrap up tonight, I think we all should give at least one tip, what we think is best for traveling with families before we go. Lauren, what do you got?
If you're going to have a connecting flight, make sure you're giving yourself enough time for bathroom breaks and picking up snacks or food. Don't rush it.
I'm going to say snacks. Do not forget the snacks because snacks make a lot of problems go away. Kids are complaining, give them a snack. Then they're like, oh, yeah, snacks. Just bring snacks.
It's true. It works for adults too.
Well, I was thinking of it myself.
Okay, I'm going to say build in downtime. I don't like the go, go, go when I'm with my family because sometimes they need a break and they don't want to tour a new city every day. So I like to pick hotels that have a pool and I like to give them a swim day.
My tip, it's very easy. Build in a day for yourself because we all know something is going to happen day 5, day 7. There's going to be a disagreement. There's going to be an argument. Someone's going to get mad.
We know what happens in Mitch's family.
There's going to be words said and you're going to need a little time for yourself. So, budget that in there. Give yourself a little bit of time somewhere. All right. What other tips did we leave out on tonight's show? We are looking at you to let us know your best tips for family travel. Maybe it's a travel item, your favorite flight, or other ways to hide your kids as you're checking into a hotel room for 2 people. What are your best tips? Please leave a comment below and let us know. Lauren, it's been so great having you on our show tonight. How can people find you?
You can find me primarily on Instagram at This Is How We Do Trips.
That's it for now. I want to thank all of our hosts. It's Serena.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Miguel.
Later.
And special thanks to you for joining us, Lauren. Will you please come back and join us again?
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And I'm Mitch Shannon. Make sure you sign up for our email newsletter. Just snap the QR code right now on your screen for the latest and everything going on in the Points and Miles world. On our next show, we're going to deliver another requested one, Buying Groups, with our extra special guest co-host, Mick Jeffrey. You're not going to want to miss it. Thank you for watching and listening.
Let's get to the points.com.